less diverse, and this feedback between the environment and the
organism,
unit, whatever it is, the person. And suffering is, you understand, Buddhism and so on, the idea of suffering being an integral part of our existence, and trying to alleviate the suffering through maybe detachment or through creating a better environment for yourself, for family, in order to be able to limit as much as possible the suffering that humans can do to each other. I think that's a very good and noble virtue. And I think religions can often, get us to a point where we are more careful around others, and we're more respectful. But I think suffering is obviously when you're born into this world, you're born crying, and screaming, and it's a very childbirth is painful for both people there, and in every single step of the way, hardship creates good athletes. Hardship creates good, strong mental health much of the time, and that's great. I mean, competitive sports are all about suffering when you think about it, but there's a good, to know that there's a good result that comes from it.
But do you think in the West here, we've been mentally prepared to deal with suffering in a post-Christian world? I feel we're ill-equipped compared to the past.
I don't know whether I think there is a component of being of a religious mindset that helps us understand that even if there is suffering, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe we can actually help grow ourselves through just not necessarily suffering, but our understanding and having the parameters around us to know when we need to not do bad things. So many of the problems we have today are because we know what's bad, and we do those things anyway. We drink, we smoke, we have reckless lifestyles. Christians, not so much. I don't think we see that too much in Christian society, and I don't think we see it at all in the Muslim world, particularly.
Less so.
There's a strong sense of what's right, family values, and they are inherent. Don't mess with it. It's great to see very wise people here.
I mean, when you spoke about meaning or light, you have this light at the end. The problem is, if we look at it from a liberal perspective, and we live obviously in liberal societies, we're not taught these things. We're not taught the idea that suffering may have a meaning. If you come from a worldview which is essentially materialistic, then there is no meaning behind the suffering. There are no values. There is no intrinsic morals. And today, people are a lot less tenacious than they were in the past. Like, say something like the Holocaust. We had people like Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search of Meaning. And one of the things that he says is that, he was in the Holocaust, and he was in the concentration camps. And one of the things that he said is that the people who believed in meaning were able to deal with the pain.
Very much,
But the people who did not believe in meaning, it was incredibly difficult for them to deal with the pain. And if you come from a liberal perspective, your paradigm is life is about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain. But from a religious perspective, you're taught life is not about maximizing pleasure. Life is not about minimizing pain. Life is a struggle. Life is a pain. And we have people like, Schopenhauer, who, he recognized that life is essentially suffering. And our fellow human beings are my suffering and companion. And one of the aspects of the Western world which is very different to what it was in the past, and where Islam, I believe, could be a solution to many of the problems that we have here in the West in terms of existential problems, is that Islam is there to explain to you that behind suffering, behind pain, behind these things, there is actually a meaning. And there's something far greater to look forward to. And I believe Christianity, because it's lost its influence, and for two reasons. One is obviously the rise of secularism, but two, also because I feel a lot of the Christians, in terms of clergy and pastors and whatnot, they didn't hold on to their strong values. Instead, what they did is they started pandering to liberalism. and they watered it down and down and down.
Yeah, sure. I think it's, there's an aspect there of victimization, victim culture, and the stepping back from coddling young minds, and so on. And you see this a lot in schools now. The fear of competitive sports, the idea of sports days being something where everyone can win.
Everyone gets a medal.
It's like, it's not necessarily there, and it's okay to be a loser if you turn up and you try hard. And you can become a good sportsman anyway. You don't have to be the world's quickest runner or anything. Forget that. It's always the guys that come first at anything, the girls that come first at anything. They're always cherished, and all of the limelight's thrown on those people. But I think generally, just being a competitor, turning up, working,
having
your
grit,
body, being strong, it's great, and having a good mind. If you're that way inclined, writing books, creative output, do something. You're lazy in this world. You do get very lazy. There's the Protestant work ethic of looking around you, finding out what you can do, conquering your own self, your own fears, looking at the world and adapting the world to fit the needs of humans, to fit the needs of animals. It's all good, for sure. I think I think maybe there's an aspect of the godless. In the West, we've lost sight of that, and now mums and dads don't really know what the aspiration maybe has been lessened and taken down a few notches, and we're like, we can do anything we like, we can be anything we want to be, and maybe it's good to say no, let's humble ourselves a little bit. We are finite living creatures. We can aspire to great things.
And you know what's interesting? One of the things you touched upon is conquering yourself, as in conquering your bad aspect, or having discipline essentially. But the way that, because of the consumer society we live in, we're told to give in to impulses, just do it. And it's all about you as an individual. It's not about the collective anymore. I've
had addictions in my life, and they've taken a lot of the happiness that I have, and the happiness I would have had into the future away from me, because I did indulge, and I've eaten too much, to smoke a lot, drinking too much.
Is this when you were godless at the time?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I guess so. Or maybe not thinking about that kind of thing, just living
like
in a
agnostic, just completely.
Yeah, well, just having some problems with epilepsy in my past, right? And some mental health problems that actually had been there for a very long time. And I had a scar on my brain, and it affected my cognition and my behaviour when I was younger. And I used to deaden the feelings I'd have and deaden my brain, and lots of addiction is so often it's a way to just dull yourself in the moment. Because you don't want to think, how can I actually sort these problems out?
But you mentioned the medical history there, but a lot of people don't have that medical history with the same pattern of behavior. Why do you think that is?
As you say, it's hedonism, I think. It's indulging in those lower drives, those impulses that,
base desires,
inclining us towards impulsive behaviour, towards sex, towards violence, because it's good in the short term. You're not thinking about time horizons, It's like now, let's have sex addiction. Put me in a position now where I have a difficulty. I think I don't want to say, I really would love to get married and have kids, really, really do. And I'm of the mindset now that that's what I want to do with my future. But I've actually chiseled away at my heart. I think a few times just been having those passions that are of a lower nature take over. And it wasn't nice. It's not good, and it's quick and it's fun. I think when you're youthful, you've got that youthful exuberance, and it's there, and you can take that and kind of run with it, for a bit. But after a while, it catches up with you, and it's going to hurt you.
And literally millions of youngsters are going through this right now.
Yeah, and I come from a liberal family who were religious. Really.
Right.
My dad's was a hippie.
Right.
He's kind of Taoist. He does believe in a divinity to existence now, I think. But he never really impressed that on me.
No discipline or...
There was discipline, but it was also a sense of life. And it was different from my brother. Me, I was all over, I was reckless. I had trouble with school.